This is Western Mass News on Fox 6.
A recent decision to close the West Springfield Elementary School, bringing dozens of parents, teachers, and residents to Town Hall earlier tonight in their push for the school committee to reverse that decision. Welcome, everyone, to Western Mass News at 10. I'm Chris Pisano. Western Mass News reporter Maria Wilson joins us now live in studio with the details from the meeting. Maria, what can you tell us?
Well, Chris, earlier this month, the West Springfield School Committee voted to close down one of their elementary schools. But the news of this decision upset many parents and residents who say that their school leaders haven't been transparent enough throughout the process.
We are fundamentally discussing throwing away the character of the town of West Springfield, the very essence of what makes it home.
Change is hard, but Mittineauge can't stay open forever.
A town divided over the fate of their elementary school. West Springfield Town Council convening for a special meeting over concerns about the fate of Mittineauge Elementary School, which is closing its doors following a school committee vote earlier this month.
Relocating Mittineauge Elementary students is just one domino in the long-term plan that will ultimately get rid of neighborhood schools and change the landscape of elementary education in West Springfield. Residents,
including City Councilor Michael LaFlame, now pushing for the school committee to reverse its decision.
A change that I adamantly disagree with. I'm a big believer in neighborhood schools.
But others say the change, which has been financially motivated, is necessary.
It's unfortunate we have to make hard decisions to get there and that it's impactful on the residents. But I do think this is a better decision for the district as a whole moving forward.
An outside review found that keeping the school open wouldn't be fiscally responsible for West Side. But LaFlame and others are insisting residents should have been more involved in the decision and in the fight to keep the school's doors open.
Whether you think closing Mittineauge is a good idea or a bad idea, the lack of transparency that's been there is very concerning.
There's not one coherent message that's explaining what's happening. And based on that alone, I think if you are a registered voter in the town of West Springfield, you should sign that petition and this should all start over.
And many of the residents have an ongoing petition to overturn the school committee's decision. City Councilor LaFlame telling us that they've already gathered roughly 200 of the necessary 2,400 signatures that are needed for town leaders to reconsider the measure. Reporting live in studio, Maria Wilson, Western Mass News.
All right, Maria.